It is true.
Now, the rest of the people do show up.
Yes, we really have a good, I don't think I've ever been here where we didn't have a
Good
report.
morning.
Mountain Dog, I would think they'd have.
Beautiful day today,
It is
Isn't it though?
nice.
beautiful.
It's gonna get cooler a little bit though. I'm not opposed to that either. Like,
Well, they said in the mornings it's gonna get cooler, but we
Yeah.
warm up during the day, so that's not so bad.
that's great, yeah.
Be like spring.
I just said 70s during the day, or 80 with a nice breeze.
Yep,
Sunshine.
I mean,
It's the perfect Florida
it
weather.
has been so nice. I mean, in the morning, I went out this morning and it was like 62, and I said, oh, and then within an hour it was up to 71. I
yeah,
said,
it went fast
This is
this
even
morning.
nicer.
This morning it went quickly.
How big was it?
Here it is.
Now, how long do I wait? 5 minutes?
Well, we need one more for quorum, to make a quorum.
Okay,
And they come from long distances, these people,
so
so
we usually give about a 5-minute,
leeway.
okay.
Casey came in from Gainesville, so.
Yes, I was stuck behind a grader, I think some kind of construction truck. I was like,
Yeah.
can I get now?
No,
No,
no.
we just had to wait.
Casey is very involved in senior programs.
Okay.
She does a lot with Lindsay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you came down 40?
Yes.
That's the fastest way.
Yeah, it's nicer than 75.
And it's not bad, but it is only one lane each direction. And once you get on it, you can look, but it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, you just have to wait. It's, I am a very cautious driver anyway, so it's like, no, just
Oh,
wait,
you're
it's
like
okay.
me.
Dog were scared to death of it.
Happy Valentine's Day
Oh,
tomorrow.
man, I mean, they would damn near climb on my head. You know, we live near Fort Myers, which is what?
Oh, the timer's not here either.
North America.
How to use it.
Oh,
It's your choice.
Oh, yeah,
It's a pleasure of the board, but if we run through the call to order for this meeting, when we get ready to go to the next meeting, if you want to do another moment of silence or say what you can, and if not, it's, you can choose not to do that. So,
okay.
but we will have to, and we will have to do the declaration of quorum and then notice of
Nope.
public.
I can do that.
Public notice, okay.
See a lot of people going
Running
there,
late, I guess they come from.
but it's barren.
Yes, right? I know. I could see that.
Give them just the 5-minute leeway.
But it's nice to get to see you again. It's nice to see how dedicated you are.
These chairs are huge.
I know, they're really nice, actually. They're not bad for sitting in.
Like in Fort Myers, 25 years ago or whatever, we would hear that during season. But it was people that were visiting, you know, from Europe or whatever.
So now you live in Citrus County then?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm definitely
But I
a
can't fix it now. I'm
happy Citrus County resident, but,
doing what I'm doing.
our other directors that you met, we have one that lives in Sumter, one that lives in Levy, and the rest are all Citrus County
Okay.
from the coalition. And we do have employees that live in Sumter, and we have employees that live in Levy County.
Yeah, well, we would have,
that
we
makes
would have to
perfect
because
sense.
we go out to the
Yeah,
houses.
especially because, like, my department is education, and, we assess
talk
the
about the
infant,
simple
toddler, and
part for
preschool
him.
programs.
Okay.
We observe them, and so, we go to Dixie and go to Preston, and all of us go everywhere, but, it's nice to be able to have some people that are based in Sumter and some people that, you know, are there in Levy. Oh, here's people.
Is that the one we needed?
Good morning. All right.
Ta-da.
Well, I'm going through all my candy already.
I got one more.
Yeah.
pick a name and I'll let you sit there. You could be Jeanette today. How about Debbie?
It's just to prove that I'm friends.
Just
Just to sit next to
and
me.
if they want, the chair can.
Dave, we'll just need to know which one of you are voting.
I suppose I'll vote today.
A joint vote
Yeah, that's
of
fine.
them.
Yeah,
Rock, paper, scissors.
that's right, that's right.
I apologize if we're a little late, I missed a turn.
Oh,
Been there.
you were
There's
following
enough
the
construction
GPS,
out
weren't
there.
you?
Exactly.
Now, does this thing
We have
turn on
quorum.
automatically?
I'm sorry?
Does this thing turn on automatically?
Kat will turn all the equipment on.
Okay,
So we do have a quorum and we can begin if you want to call it to order.
okay. Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, and according to the clock, it says 9:35. Yeah, we're 5 minutes late, but better late than never, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, the next thing is a moment of silence. In our moment of silence, I'd really like us to think and, thank God that, for everything he gives us, but please pray for the Ralph Masulo family, because Ralph's wife died, and, he was our district representative for the state up until this past election, and he's done a lot for education and for the people of this county and this area and this state. And then after the invocation, which I'll give in a second, I would like us to do the Pledge of Allegiance, which I'll lead it. Next time, I will find some people to volunteer, but for today, I'm going to try this. So those that can and are willing to, could you please stand for the invocation? Heavenly Father, we ask you to be with us today as we go over some business for the county and business for the people in this county and Hernando County. We ask thee to guide us with your guiding hand to do the things that you expect us to do and want us to do. And we pray this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, I'm going to go around, we're going to introduce ourselves, the board members, and we're going to start, I guess we'll start with Desiree.
Good morning. I'm Deirdre LaBelle, and I represent Children at Risk.
Dave Newell, FDOT.
Michelle Sikavitzis, FDOT as well.
Casey Ladd, I'm representing the Department of Elder Affairs.
You're next. Yep, you're next.
Steve Brown, visually impaired people and blind people too.
Dave Douglas, I represent the transit users of the county.
My name is Janet Barrick. I'm the chairman of this committee, and now we're going to see, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we have to introduce on this side too?
Yes.
Okay.
Joanne Granger, Citrus County Transit Director.
Mary Ellen, MPO staff.
Joy Turner, MPO staff.
All right, now, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Chair, we do have quorum, and the vote count is currently 7.
Thank you. It says, the MPO staff enter the proof of publication into the records.
Thank you, Chair. The public notice was published on the MPO website on January 29th and published in the Citrus County Chronicle on February 1st.
And we have some late arrivals. This is nice. Come on in and have a seat. I got a couple of extras. I have no problem with that. We have enough road construction going on in this county that you might be behind whatever's. So, your name is,
Deputy Latterman.
okay,
Source. Good morning.
good morning.
Annette Estes.
Take your time.
Apologize, I billed extra time in for for the traffic and the construction,
Doesn't
and
matter.
it still didn't work.
And what's your name?
Jeanette Estes.
All right, it's nice to meet you, Jeanette.
Pleasure.
All right, we just went through the fact that everything was published properly.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda. Did everybody get the agenda?
The agenda I have is for Brooksville. I don't know if it's just me.
That's odd, but we've got extra citrus
No
ones.
problem. I can hang on to it.
There are no changes to the agenda, though.
All right, so seeing there are no changes to the agenda, do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. You got it?
If you have an extra.
Okay. Mr.
Okay, so
Brown?
it's
So the
Stephen?
motion was
Yes.
by Mr. Douglas, and the second was Mr. Brown.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
The vote is 9-0.
thank you. Okay. I'm going to recognize Mary Elwin, and she's going to present the survey results to us.
Good morning, everyone. So glad to see you here. I wish y'all a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. I am here to talk to you about the Citrus County Transit Development Plan. There is a major update of that plan ongoing, and I'm just gonna provide a status with some emphasis on how the public feels about the transit service that's ongoing in the county. So I'm just going to go through what is a transit development plan. A transit development plan is a document that's required for grant-funded programs per Florida statutes and governed by Rule 14-73 of the Florida Administrative Code. It serves as the planning, development, and operational guide document for a 10-year horizon. It's adopted by the governing body, which is Citrus County Board of County Commissioners, and then it's updated every 5 years, and annual progress reports in those interim years. It's presented to the MPO board. The MPO consultant, Benish, is developing the major 10-year update for Citrus County. It incorporates the following. Its key factor is public involvement. The public involvement process is a very important part of any development of any transportation project plan, what have you. I will be speaking to that part of it in a few minutes. The relationship review to other plans. The transit development plan has to be consistent with the Florida Transportation Plan. It's got to be consistent with local comprehensive plans, so Citrus County Comprehensive Plan is a factor that's taken a look at during the development of the TDP. And importantly, the 2050 Long-Range Transportation Plan that was just adopted on October 3rd also has to be consistent with the Transit Development Plan. The Metropolitan Planning Coordination with Transportation Improvement Program and Unified Planning Work Program and Corridor Development Studies is a key component. There's a lot of plans here, a lot of alphabet soup, but it's important that all of these plans are consistent with each other. The demand for transit planning resulting in a 10-year projection of transit ridership is where the plan is going to focus. And it's also coordinated with land use and corridor development assessment, and that's where they address efficiencies and design. I just want to kind of mention also that the state did update the transit development plan requirements. That became effective July 9th, 2024, so Citrus counties will be consistent with the newly adopted requirements. Citrus County Transit's development plan. The plan is going to evaluate existing conditions. It's integrated outreach for local input, which again, I can't stress that well enough. Y'all are part of that input. This is part of that input, public input. It establishes future transit priorities. It helps to guide how transit's going to be developed in the county. It outlines service and implementation plans, and it incorporates best practices. So the consultant will be addressing all of these things in the update. There are certain required elements of a TDP. These are the high level. There's a 10-year schedule of projects identifying future operating and capital. There's a financial plan for the 10-year planning horizon, identifying operating and capital expenses and funding sources. So not only do they have to say what they want to do, they have to say how it's going to be funded. And a list of priority projects for the 10 years. So any upgrades, improvements, deviations, adding a route, taking out a route, all of that has to be identified in the transit development plan. And after adoption, the annual TDP updates with a new 10-year annually thereafter, and it addresses the coordination of planning process. So coordination's in there twice. It's a big deal. So activities involved in a major TDP update include baseline conditions assessment. That's going to tell you the demographic, socioeconomic, and other characteristics of the system as it serves the public. It's going to facilitate public involvement activities. The process includes identifying and evaluating existing services, preparing inventory of operations, including, fares, eligibility, span, and capital. Buses and vans are capital, so that's going to include an inventory of everything that they have. It's going to involve a situation appraisal. The consultant will do that. They'll conduct a situation appraisal. They're going to look at all the regulatory processes in Citrus County and make sure they're compliant with the state and federal. They're going to take a look at geographic needs of the county. They're going to take at land use, development. They're going to look at the local plans, as I mentioned, comprehensive plans. And they're going to review the adopted TDSP, the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan. They're going to estimate and evaluate demand and mobility needs and transit service utilizing the information that they've gotten in these other areas. They're going to establish goals and objectives. What should the system offer? How frequently should it operate its trips? Where should the buses go?
How often are they gonna do that?
This update is a 10-year update, and that is what's going on. But they annually do review.
Annually, okay.
They will do annual after the 10-year is established. There's a 5-year update, but in that interim, every year, they provide an annual progress report. So they'll identify during those annual progress reports what's working and what isn't working and what needs to be changed, enhanced, discontinued, what have you. Good question, Mr. Brown.
Sounds like a full-time job.
It
Times
is.
about 10.
It is. It is, and that's what Joanne Granger here does a very good job at. She's doing that.
No wonder she got gray hair, right?
Actually, it's brown. Mr. Brown, her hair is
Mr.
brown.
Brown.
So, then they'll prepare and finalize the transit development plan for implementation, and it comes from those baseline conditions and public input and analytical results and priority alternatives, and it will enable a good plan to be developed and processed and sent to the state and then implemented. It's a lot, isn't it?
Vocabulary soup.
It is alphabet soup, and if you catch me doing an acronym for one of those, you just shout out and say, "What was that?" So public outreach is like where we are at this moment in time, where the consultant is. They've wrapped up some significant public outreach efforts. They've already conducted 15 stakeholder interviews, and what does that mean? Who's a stakeholder? And in the stakeholder process, Joanne assists in identifying who do we need to talk to that it has a very big input into what the service is doing. So that, she gave our consultant a huge list. It was Commissioner Bays was involved in that, United Way, Basic United, Daystar, the Citrus County School Systems, WTI, Key Training Center, Family Resources, Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition, Career Source, NAMI, Department of Health, the Chamber of Commerce, Senior Services, and both the hospitals, Tampa General Hospital and
What is
Citrus Memorial.
WTI?
WTI is,
Withlacoochee Technical Institute College.
All right, thanks.
so, the TDP Outreach Phase 1 and the Transit Needs Workshop, November 20th we conducted that workshop, and it was held at the Central Ridge Library in Beverly Hills, and it was fairly well attended, so they got some good input and good feedback on what people thought, just the people that came walking in the door. What did they think about the transit system? Do they ride it? Do they use it? That kind of stuff. And it was well done and very productive. And then phase 2 will be a 10-year priorities workshop. That'll be conducted in April-May timeframe. So the phase 1 survey results were kind of interesting. I want to note that during the period of October 2024 to January 2025, they actually received 260 responses, and that's really a good response level for a county. This is still considered a rural county, even though you're growing like crazy. 260 responses is a good feedback. So the question that was on the survey was, have you or a member of your household used Citrus County Transit? And as you can see from the slide, 54.6 of the respondents, were more than half, just over half, said they had not used it, but they were willing to input on what they thought could be an improvement or that sort of thing. 35.1% said that they had used the system. So these are just of those 260 responses. And another 10% said they did not know public transportation was available in Citrus County. So 10.4% of those respondents said they didn't know. So all of these things are going to require some emphasis in the TDP on how to address these issues. And then in response to the question, is there a need for additional improved transit services in Citrus County? It was an overwhelming yes, 89%, and no said 11%. So the consultant will be taking a deeper dive into what that 89% think that needs to be added or improved. So it's coming, it'll be coming in the future. You'll be seeing it, it'll be a part of that process. And while most, like I said, it was kind of odd that most said that while they have the indication of what they said that they had not used the service, they also agreed that there was that need for improvement. So even if they're not using it, they're seeing something. So this consultant needs to drill down into that. I want to emphasize that. So. And I thank our consultant for preparing these slides to go through, because they actually show this data. So what should Citrus County Transit consider as top enhancements? Obviously, it was more frequent bus service, and that's something that Joanne has been hearing all along. People want more frequent bus service. That means they want the buses to come to those stops a little more often. Well, there's a cost factor to that, but it's a part of the process of doing the transit development plan that they're gonna have to address those stats, those statistics. So it was 30% wanted more frequent bus service. And then earlier or later weekday service, that was 19%. And generally, people who respond to that are using the transit system for their employment transportation. So earlier or later weekday service is at 19%, and then 26% had a second priority to that. Those are those priorities, how the consultant has shown them, are in relationship to each other. So more frequent bus service was 30%, and the rest of them voted or responded with that relationship. So 19%, it was a second priority for more frequent bus service, and then 13%, 15%, and so on. But earlier or later weekday service, 19% said that was a top priority, but 26 said that was a second top priority for them. So in other words, again, that to me seems like the 19% were people who actually use it for employment purposes. Saturday service came in with 19% as a priority, but the 23% ranked that as a second priority. So that's interesting. The app-based on-demand transit rides share service, microtransit, came in at 16% for the top priority, but 17% is the third priority. So people, if I were to kind of interpret that, people are not always interested in having an app. And in populations where there are more older people, they're not computer savvy or they're not app savvy. So I don't know the demographics of the people that answered the response to the survey, but that kind of chimes in with that. Regional Express, that was the question that was prioritized on regional destinations for people that were interested in having the bus go north to Marion County. That was the major destination. If the bus went out of the county, where do you want to go? It was to north to Marion County. South to Hernando County was second at 36%. East to Sumter County was really 5%, and north to Levia County was 4%. So people want to head to Marion County and then south to Hernando County.
Well, are they allowed to cross the county line now?
Well, there would have to be some sort of coordination activity to allow or to address that, because fare strategies, what they pay, how they pay it for the different systems, how far it goes. Usually, like what Hernando County did, and Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas, they all engaged in a joint fare activity called Flamingo Fares, and then there was a way to understand the collection process, and there was some sort of there was an agreement to share administrative costs and things like that. So the question on how to do it can be done different ways. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. But all those things have to be identified and worked out in agreements. Oh, God bless you.
Thank you. Do we reach out to the doctors and the doctors' offices to let them know that their patients coming, let's see, if they're coming out of the hospital and they have Freedom Health, most doctors in Citrus County don't take it, but you have to go to Hernando County to Brooksville. Do we let the doctors or the nurses or whoever's discharging the patient, let them know that we do have this micro service that they can call to get to these follow-up doctor appointments? And is that why they're saying south to Hernando second? because a lot of them go to Marion County for doctors, but I do know, I have friends that go south to Hernando because that's who takes Freedom Health.
Well, and it could be a combination of reasons that they wanted to go north to Marion County and south to Hernando County. It could be as simple as the shopping. They prefer the shopping.
Because they don't know about the shopping in Hernando.
Yes. So it could be a number of reasons, and our consultant will attempt to drill down to understand, what those reasons are. The high-level question was if you could provide regional service and deliver somewhere, where would it be? And it was north to Marion and south to Hernando.
Probably if you said if you could provide regional service to medical appointments, you would have had a higher response, because that to me is where the need is, getting our citizens to and from medical appointments to doctors' facilities that are outside our county.
And so that's a point well taken. Yes?
I will say that, my wife works for, what used to be Suncoast Dermatology, it's now Suncoast something. The transit system is very good about, even if your doctor's appointment goes over, all you have to do is say, we've gone over, and they will adapt to that. It's tough for them, but they will adapt to it. So that is, I don't see that as a real issue, because they are willing to do whatever is needed to get the job done. And I know that I've been called by my doctor by one of my doctors a couple times and said, you need to come in here tomorrow. Well, seeing as how my wife may be in Ocala instead of here in Citrus, because they've got offices all over the place now, that could be a problem. All I have to do is call the transit system. As soon as I say I've got a doctor's appointment, that takes priority. So that's, I feel that that's pretty much taken care of as far as that goes. And I do agree that, we do need to do something about Freedom Health being the, only taken in Hernando like that. That is true, but, I just wanted to let people know that you are taken care of when you have to go. Doctor's appointments take priority, and so don't you love this feedback? Jeez. So I don't see that as big a problem. And as far as the going into Marion County for shopping or what have you, I've been on this board for years, and we've tried and tried and tried to get to figure out a way that we can adapt a system where we can go to Marion County, because there's tons of times that I want to go to, say, Paddock Mall or to a real restaurant. Now we're finally coming of age here, now that I'm too old to care. We're finally getting things here, but we don't. The one hump, and my wife asks me about this every time we have a meeting. The one hump that we can't seem to get over is how can we adapt and put Marion and Citrus together to harmonize with one another, so that people can go other places besides what's here. And I fear that what's going to happen is we're going to have to build up and finally say, okay, we don't need to go to Marion now. Because I don't see it happening. I just don't. And everybody who knows me on this board knows that I'm not a pessimist. But I've heard this for so long that I don't believe it's going to happen anymore. So
I've been waiting on it for 30 years and not seen it happen yet. Crossing a county line is like moving to a different country or something, But
I
Well,
mean,
thank you for those comments. It's important that your input here is going to be relayed to our consultant for use as they develop the next transit development plan.
well, we've got to start somewhere.
Yes. And Madam Chair, if you would recognize Gisela Ruiz, she is now here, so our vote count is 10. Welcome.
Welcome to you. I'm the new chair, Janet Barrick.
So let's talk about what's next. We're going to review relevant transit plans. As part of the process of developing a transit plan, they actually take a look at peer systems. Those are systems that are similar in makeup, size, geographics, things like that. So the consultant will be looking at those. We always take a look at those because it is important to understand what they are doing, what's working, what's not working. So they do a good job at taking a look at other transit plans. They prepare the TDP priority projects. It's the list of projects. They prepare schedule of projects, when they're going to occur. And they will be conducting a public workshop April and May. TDP adoption is slated for August of 2025.
Where is the meeting thing gonna be done in April and May?
The public workshop?
Right.
It's not set yet. They haven't established a location. If it's not going to be at the MPO, in the MPO board arena, so we will advise you of when that workshop is.
Right,
Okay?
thanks.
So any other questions as we wrap up here to then go to our regular agenda? Are there any other questions that you have? Do you have something you want to tell us to provide to our consultant as he is developing the transit plans, other than what Mr. Douglas and Mr. Brown indicated? Is there anything that you can think of that we need to take a look at specifically? Okay.
Mary?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that our grant funding right now limits us to providing services within Citrus County. However, I have been working with trying to determine hookup points. There is a stop at the public shopping center in Sugar Mill Woods that is proposed to be an eventual hookup between Citrus and Hernando. I have reached out to Marion County. It's been a while since I've spoken to somebody at where a good location would be to hook up to Marion. However, that would require, they are in a different district and they are also set up differently. So it would take coordination, but hopefully with that being addressed as a need in the transportation development plan, we can work to getting that happening in the future.
So again, this body is just a public body, a public outreach. It's important that transportation disadvantage will be addressed, and your input is important. So, Madam Chair, I don't know if there are any other questions of the board, and I don't
Any
know.
other questions from board members? Seeing as there's no more questions from board members, I'd like to open this up to the public for public comment.
No comments.
No comments from the public. Well, I'm going to close the public then. I'm going to ask members if there's anything else that you want to discuss, any other items you want to discuss. Seeing as there are none, I'm going to ask Mary Ellen if there are any updates to discuss as part of our annual public workshop.
No updates for the annual public workshop. We will have some updates for the
Well-
regular meeting.
Then I'm going to announce that our next scheduled meeting for the Citrus County Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, or LCB, begin immediately following this meeting.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
the workshop is now adjourned. Thank you. Meeting to order, and it is now 10:10 a.m. All right, now we're going to go back to our moment of silence for the Masulo family in the loss of our Representative Masulo's wife. And he did a very, very good job for our county. And his wife was behind him every way. So we need to remember Ralph and his family. After that, we'll do the invocation and the pledge. So. Okay, all those that can and are willing to stand, please stand for the invocation and the pledge. Dear Lord, we ask you to be with us this day as we go over the needs for the transportation disadvantaged people of our county and see what we can and cannot provide, and with your help, we will provide for those who need help. We ask you to be with each of those that are here today and those that could not make it, and help us. That's all we need is help and your guidance. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's introduce ourselves as members of this board one more time. Let's start with David at the far end this time.
Yes, ma'am. Dave Douglas, Vice Chair, and a citizen representing the citizen transit users.
Is it me?
It's you.
Okay, Stephen Brown, and I'm part of the transportation disadvantaged for the visually impaired.
I didn't think I was that forgettable that you would forget that you always sat beside me, so.
No, I remember that part, but I didn't know whether we were going clockwise or counterclockwise.
I'm Casey Ladd, representing the Florida Department of Elder Affairs.
Gisela Ruiz from the Agency for Healthcare Administration, ACA.
Michelle Sikavitzis with District 7 FDOT.
Dave Newell, FDOT, District 7.
Deirdre LaBelle, I represent Children at Risk.
Jeanette Estes, State of Florida Agency for Persons with Disabilities, known as APD for short.
Debbie Letterman from Career Source, Citrus Levy Marion.
Joy Turner, NPO staff.
Mary Ellen, MPO staff.
Joanne Granger, Citrus County Transit.
And I'm Janet Barrick. I'm County Commissioner for Citrus County. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, Chair, we do have quorum, and the vote count will be 10.
Thank you. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask, are there any changes to did everybody get the agenda? Was it posted?
Madam Chair, the proof of publication, this meeting was advertised in accordance with our public participation procedures and our grant requirements.
All right. And did everyone on the board get a copy? So everybody's up to speed. Okay, so, seeing as how you got a copy, hopefully you read it. My next question is, are there any changes or any additions you want to add to the agenda? Then I need a motion to accept the agenda the way it has been drafted.
Motion.
Dave Newell, second.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Are there any comments from anyone on the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and that's 10-0.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, now, we need the election of the vice chair for 2025, since that's a yearly position. Okay, the vice chair currently is David Douglas, and he was the LCB vice chair for 2024. Are there anybody that would like to nominate David again?
I would nominate Dave.
I'll second that.
And you're gonna second that. So we have a nomination of David. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to be the vice chair? Is there anyone else that would like to be? Third time. All right, so seeing as there are no opponents, David, you're gonna accept the vice chair?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then we prove it without having to do a motion or a vote, because it's unanimous. There's only one person running, so it's acclamation.
Nobody else is dumb enough to want to do it.
Well, the motion was made by Mr. Douglas.
Right.
Or Mr. Brown, and
Mr.
then,
Brown and by Mr. Newell.
Mr. Newell, so you still have to call for a vote on that motion,
Even though it's by acclamation?
even though.
Well,
Yeah.
All in favor?
all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Douglas, for accepting the position.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't plan on being out, but just in case.
That's
You
fine.
never know.
Well, it'll make up for last year, because I was it last year, just about.
You did a good job.
You did.
We're still here.
All right, so, let's see, the next thing on our meeting we move to is election of the chair. Now we're gonna go to the, okay, we need a motion for the grievance committee for 2025. As discussed, we have to have a person for the grievance committee, member 1, member 2, and member 3, and then an alternate. So, do I have nominations for that?
I'll do it.
All right, now hold on, we have a list. All right, we had a list from last year. Last year, we had David Douglas was the chair, Katie Lucas was the vice chair, Jeanette Estes was a member, and Stephen Brown was the alternate.
There you go.
Huh?
There you go.
All right, well, do we have a motion then to accept those 4 names in the order? One is David Douglas was chair, Katie Lucas is vice chair, Jeanette Estes is a member, and Stephen Brown would be the alternate. Do you have a second for that motion, to keep those 4 in that order?
It doesn't take up much of your time, so.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a second from Desiree. No, Deirdre.
Deirdre.
I will catch on.
You got it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let me call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 10-0. And you have the order, correct? Okay. All right, so now it says, motion to accept the November 14, 2024 minutes of the Citrus County Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the November meeting?
Ma'am, Joanne just indicated she has a correction or change on the minute.
Okay.
I have a correction. In the first paragraph where it lists the statistics, it says wheelchair users accounted for 24,000 trips. That should be 2,477.
My.
Well, the wheelchair people, we have some, but I don't think 24,000.
I used it a lot, but not that.
I think that's a good
There's
change.
0 in there.
All right, do I have a motion to accept with that correction?
Motion.
All right, so that's Stephen.
That would mean a lot more money from Mr. Newell's camp.
Oh, what?
We have a motion from Stephen, a second from David. Okay, any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 10-0. Annual review of the approval of the LCB grievance procedures. And it says,
Thank you, ma'am. So as part of the grant agreement with the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged, the MPO is required to annually review and approve the local coordinating board's grievance procedures. And as part of the annual update this year, the MPO received some direction from the Commission requiring incorporation of a process involving reporting adverse incidents involving persons with disabilities. So while the CTD did not provide a definition of those adverse incidents, the updated grievance procedure served to identify the process and incorporate the term. The grievance procedures are approved separately and then incorporated into the TDSP, which is the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan, when it is updated. So it is recommended the local coordinating board review and approve the grievance procedures and authorize the chair's signature. So what we're gonna do is go through them. So if there are any comments or questions or issues, then you can let us know. So, the draft document is before you. We'll begin on agenda packet, page 13. This is the complaint and grievance process. It covers establishment, hearing versus hearing and determining section, and then it goes into section C, and that is where the first change begins. So, in yellow text, we're going to add service complaints / adverse incidents and strike out adverse incidents that, this is a little bit changed here, so.
So the difference is the red lines and then that they received in their emailed agenda packet, and then what the lawyer came back with is what.
Okay, so I'm gonna just review, with the red line process that you received in your packet. That wasn't in my book. So the complaint and grievance process is now, it's going to be called process, not procedures. And under establishment, we're just adding it as intent of the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board to encourage resolution of complaints and grievances. And that at the lowest level, and to educate passengers, funding agencies, and any other interested parties about the complaint and grievance processes. One of the things I think the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged was having some issues with was a lot of people go straight to grievances and just want to file a grievance. Well, that doesn't give the operator or transit system a chance to actually address whatever the problem is and to log it and have tracking mechanisms so that that the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage is aware that they're following some sort of process, they're monitoring it, and they're tracking it. So I think that's the impetus of where this is coming from. So what we thought would be best to handle would this whole implementation of adverse incidences was to modify the grievance procedures, focusing on complaint resolution first, and then part of that complaint resolution would be to actually go through a grievance process if they didn't get resolution. So it's kind of like, this is your first step. Let's do this complaint process first, and then if it can't get resolved or rectified, then we go through a grievance. So fortunately, and I don't want to jinx Joanne, but the system runs well. And as Mr. Douglas has attested to, the system runs well. And so that's why, knock on wood, that the grievance committee did not meet last year. So let's hope that continues through the future. So then on letter B, the second change was just spelling out Florida statutes, because again, a lot of people are not happy with just acronyms, letters. So we're just trying to be clear. And then in letter C, the only change was spelling out Florida Administrative Code. And Mr. Brown, if you need any clarification, please jump in. I know you're not afraid, but please jump in. So under number 1, we have service complaint. And what was changed here was service complaints are really adverse incidents. They are. A service complaint means there was something adverse to a normal or what the person thought should be a routine thing. And they may occur during service, and I struck through on a daily basis. They occur during service, not on a daily basis. And they're provided to, service complaints are adverse incidents that may occur during service, provided to transportation disadvantaged users, including those persons with a disability, and are reported to the driver, dispatcher, or other individuals involved in the daily operations. Service complaints, and this was added, on adverse incidences are to be reported on a complement hazard complaint and ADA complaint report form available at the transit office from a bus operator or via the website at www.citrusbocc.com within 2 business days of an incident. And I struggle back and forth with the amount of time, but if people do not follow through and actually respond to a service-related complaint or incidents within a short amount of time, they sometimes forget details. It's better that they do it quickly, in my opinion. So anyway, 2 business days of the incident. An investigation will commence within 48 hours of receipt of the complement hazard complaint and ADA complaint report form by the adverse incident manager. And that person is now identified as either transit director, which is Joanne, or the transit supervisors and/or driver trainer safety officer. Adverse incident service complaints may include but not be limited to. So if there's something that happens that's not on this list, they can still file a complaint about it. Late trips, which are late pickup outside the hour pickup window, no-show by the transit operator. We struck through the no-show by client because we're not going to complain about the client. We just don't do that. We do deal with client behavior, driver behavior, service denial to client, passenger discomfort. So then what happens is, according to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged model procedures that they sent everybody, we have to identify actually what happens and how things are going to be processed. So under letter A, we added the transit director, transit supervisors, and driver trainer safety officer shall serve as the adverse incident manager responsible for investigating reports of adverse incidents, documenting the investigation, reviewing the investigation, closing the investigation. The investigation may include review of any video, recordings, or photographs to establish facts surrounding a reported adverse incident, and may call upon any eyewitnesses. Again, that is why the 2-day requirements of, people forget names, they forget people who are around them in the incident. It's really important to gather important factual data fresh. Identification of any causal and contributing factors that led to the adverse incident will be documented in the investigating report. The adverse incident manager will properly document actions taken by the provider's personnel involved in the adverse incident, including corrective actions with timelines if applicable. The adverse incident manager will identify and document mitigations taken to eliminate factors that contributed or may have caused the adverse incident. Open investigations will be monitored every 2 weeks to allow for resolution and closure. The model procedures that were sent from the commission actually wanted this to make sure the process didn't fall on a shelf or a file folder, that until the investigation or the incident is closed, they have to monitor it every 2 weeks. For adverse incidents that involve persons with disabilities, the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged form is called Adverse Incident Report Form related to a paratransit service provided to a person with disabilities, as attached, must be completed by the transit director and reported on the last day of the month following the end of a quarter. Reports are to be mailed to this website address, Florida CTD Adverse Incident Report at dot.state.fl.us. So in essence, the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage isn't playing on this. People that have disabilities the transit operator, if they receive a complaint, those complaints have to be logged and reported in the form they provided, which is attached to these procedures. If an adverse service complaint cannot be resolved after all efforts by the CTC, the Community Transportation Coordinator, to reach an amicable resolution, it may be submitted as a formal grievance to the CTC, the Community Transportation Coordinator, which for Citrus County, the Community Transportation Coordinator is Citrus County, Board of County Commissioners, and it would end up in Joanne's arena anyway. So there were no other changes except for just spelling out Americans with Disabilities, ADA, on that letter C items. On letter D, the following grievance procedures apply to formal grievances brought to the attention of the CTC or the DOPA, which is the designated official planning agency for the system, which is the MPO board. Passengers who are trespassed from Citrus County, there was no change to that, and that's an important one because if somebody's trespassed and they've had a behavior problem, then they do not get to file a grievance. There's no change. Number 2, all formal grievances, we struck through some if a service complaint cannot be resolved. All formal grievances must contain the following. It must contain the complaint form that they initiated the whole process with in the first place. A statement of the grounds for the formal grievance, an explanation of the relief desired by the complainant. So in other words, sometimes people complain just to complain, but what they should be doing is telling us how this issue or problem could be resolved. So, and then there were no other changes on the next page for 3, 4, 5, and we added a letter E, additional service information. Sometimes people don't understand all the rules and all the operating issues involved with operating a transit system. So it's good to refer them back to the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan, because that is how, and you all have been through that, that is how the transit system for transportation disadvantaged is operated. So those were the changes. If you go to the next page, you'll actually see the complement, hazard complaint, and ADA complaint report. Citrus County is unique, in the fact that, they are providing a mechanism to also not only complain, but also to praise. And this is a compliment form, and Joanne takes them very seriously, everything. Her complaints, her compliments, they're all part of the system, and I like the form that they've provided. It gets a unique ID number at the bottom right. That ID number is maintained in a log that Joanne has. She will be monitoring that log every 2 weeks and making sure if something's still open that it moves to get resolved. And then she also will be doing the reporting that's required by the commission after every quarter, and identifying how many names and specific certain issues, HIPAA laws and things like that. None of that's included. She just has to file a complaint, a report with them identifying how many and what's going on. So the form for that is also in Spanish, so she's provided that. The adverse incident reporting form that she has to use is on the next page. And then I provided a copy of the commission's model procedures. There are also internal processes and procedures that Citrus County Transit will have to implement to make sure they're in compliance with complaint processing for these types of complaints, and Joanne's already developed all that. She's been on top of it since it came down in a few weeks ago. She's already implemented the procedures, and they also have to not conflict with their public transportation safety plan. So there's a coordination with that activity that Joanne has to do too. But I think we're on the right track here. Does anybody have any questions about this? Thank you. Sorry. No?
All right, so I need a motion to approve the grievance procedure and to authorize the chair to sign the form.
Sign it.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
It says Mr. Newell, okay.
Second.
And you're gonna second it? And you're
Debbie Leopard.
All right. Any further discussion? No? All right, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the record will reflect a 9 vote, because Ms.
Yes,
Estes is,
because
she has
Jeanette-
left the room
Yep, so
temporarily.
it's 9-0.
Yep.
Okay, so now, we're gonna review and approve the updated application for the transportation disadvantaged.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary?
This is just an update, Joanne may want to speak to it, but the forms were actually changed and updated. What was happening is, you know, guidelines and thresholds change when statistics come out. So, and rather than putting them, the eligibility, poverty levels in the application form, she left that out, because when people do come in and apply, they have to be certain they're eligible. They have to give information to the transit operator, and then at that time, they are determined whether they meet the eligibility requirements. It's a simplification of the form, and it works well. Do you have anything to add, Joanne?
Basically, we clarified, in the language, there was some confusion of whether you had to complete a form in order to ride Citrus County Transit. We updated that to say you do not need to fill out a form to ride transit. However, if you want to take advantage of Transportation Disadvantaged Trust Funds, then yes, you do need to fill out the form. We removed the dollar amount of the poverty level. Most people know what that 150% poverty level is, so that we don't have to keep updating it every year. We've run into problems where all of the agencies that have been assisting the population in filling out these forms, some have been using way out-of-date forms. We have accepted them because we're not going to make it difficult on the passenger, but we do need to make them so that we can get the correct form out there, and then it can be continued to be used until we change it at this board. That's the changes.
Does anyone have any questions from the board? If not, I need a motion to approve the updated application for the transportation disadvantaged.
I make a motion.
That's Deirdre,
Second?
and that was David. All right, so, seeing as how I have a motion and a second, are there any comments? All right, so, we're gonna take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Got 9-0. Next, we have the quarterly report for October 1 through December 31st of 2020. I think it should say 2024. Mine says 2025.
You're right, it should say 2024.
Okay, so we
You're
need
spot
to
on.
adjust that. By the Community Transportation Coordinator. So Joanne, it says you're gonna do this one.
Yes. Okay, the statistics for October, November, December, total trips for October were 4688, total trips for November, 4575, total trips for December went up to 5372. It's pretty evenly divided between the fixed route and the door-to-door service. Most of the trips continue to be nutritional is our highest, followed by employment and medical are our top three. The majority of the trips are transportation disadvantaged. And the rest public. We have unduplicated client counts, I'll add that in here. We have 35 wheelchair clients, 178 ambulatory clients. Of those ambulatory clients, 559 were ambulatory requiring lift, but that's not a field in the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged, but each time that requires a driver to deploy the lift, just as though they were on a wheelchair. And we have 101 unduplicated transportation disadvantaged clients that travel the Orange Line, the fixed route every month. So we are encouraging transportation disadvantaged to use the fixed route whenever possible. That's all I have.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Are there
that's-
any questions from anybody on the board?
Well, that's a very good thing, because there was a period of time where, let's say I was discouraged from using the Orange Line, and so I'm glad to hear that, even though I'm too old to go up that hill now, so. But anyway, that is good, because there was a period of time where even with the lifts in all the buses, now this is prior to Joanne taking over, this was another person, but it was, you were really discouraged as a wheelchair user to use the Orange Line. It started out when the Orange Line first came into being that I could use it and go anywhere I wanted to go, and then all of a sudden that was stopped because
You were inconvenient.
yeah, exactly. Certain people were saying that it was taking too much time for the driver to put the wheelchair on board, and then if they got busy, the person in the wheelchair took up too much room on the bus. So therefore, I was struck off the Orange Line, and I couldn't, until Joanne took over, I couldn't use it. I was not allowed, not just me, but I was not allowed to use it, even though I had used it almost every day prior to. And every time I brought it up, my wife's like, "That's illegal." And I'm like, I realize that, you know, but once Joanne took over, that stopped. So,
And that's because you started taking showers every day.
well, yeah, I know. There had to be something done, you know, so, I mean, actually, I really only use body spray, but that's,
We can tell you are friends.
And-
oh, you should hear us on the phone.
No, they shouldn't.
It's good to hear a positive that our Transportation Disadvantage Board is doing. You know, people need to know, you know, good things are coming from this. And that's what it's for. It's for people to use, and the disadvantaged people need to know that they have access to this.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, when we first met this morning, I told you this is a good board. This is outstanding. That's why I've been on it for so many years. So,
Well, I'm glad you're staying.
And we have seen an increase in usage with a lot of people with walkers,
oh, yeah.
so.
Yeah, a lot of people's hips and knees are going. And as they get back up and walking, you know, it's nice that we do have the service to provide them. So,
Yes, ma'am.
any other discussion from the board? All right, so let's move to the next thing, which is the Key Training Center. The Key Training Center's quarterly report from October 1st through December 31st, 2024. I'm gonna change mine to say 2024. This is gonna be by Teresa,
I'm filling in for Teresa today. I'm Barbara Branch,
okay?
Director of Day Services. And hi to those that we haven't seen in a while.
Great to see you.
Good to see you too. In the month of October, November, and December for our quarterly, the ambulatory trips, 13,000, which is up a little bit. Wheelchairs, 2,242. Passenger types of purpose is medical is 7,787. Employment, 0. Educational is 6,718. Shopping, 155, and other, which is recreational, 610. A little bit of an increase during the holidays. And I also wanted to just take a moment and thank Joanne and her team, because it has been very easily accessible for some of our clients that would not be able to get to our day program because of our services. If we have, I want to say 11 now that are able to come to our day services because of CCT, that they would not be able to have transportation to and from. So her team does an amazing job on the caring, the respect that they give our clients. There has not been one driver, and I want to thank you and your team for training or whatever you're coaching on how to show respect to all individuals. So if you'll pass that along, because we don't always get that, so we appreciate that. The couple of hiccups Teresa wanted to remind you guys of is we're having difficulties being able to get drivers with CDLs that are going to pass a background screening. That's been a little difficult these days. And our vehicles are under repair because they're older. Dave Newell's helping us with that. Hopefully we'll have some success soon, very soon. But they are getting older, and it does take a lot more repair. The repairs are very difficult sometimes because they're obsolete. They don't make those parts anymore, so we're struggling there too. But we're able to utilize some of the other vehicles, which make our vehicles, if you take out one bus that doesn't drive that day because it's down, you're going to send 4 other vehicles or vans that DOT has provided us. So we appreciate your help there, but we're hopefully going to get some more soon. Right, Dave? All right. Any questions?
I just want to say it wouldn't be possible without the driver trainer, the drivers. Everybody does an excellent job.
Yeah.
They're a wonderful team.
Yes, thanks.
Drivers are hard for everybody. The schools are constantly looking for drivers. And I don't know how you're gonna get past that unless you start tapping into some of the resources. Have you gone to the VFWs and the AMVETs and them and asked them for people that are retired that are willing to do?
We've even encouraged them to, that we would pay for to get their license back,
Mhm.
under the CDL license. And we're just not interested in the amount of pay that we can pay.
That's exactly, it need to be more appropriation for the funding of the drivers. They're not being paid nearly enough.
And that's what happens. You have a specialty license, and you're not able to get paid for that specialty license.
They're paid
It's a
weekly.
struggle,
Yeah.
and it's been a struggle for a while.
Well, hopefully we'll start seeing it relieved a little. I'd love to see us work with our resource people from the career sources and get some of them people, their clients.
We do work with them,
Mhm.
but we haven't got any that we could utilize.
That's correct. Well, any other comments from the board? So we have a feature presentation today from what it says, Jeanette Estes, a Regional Operations Manager of the Florida Agency for Persons with Disabilities, has a presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
The floor is yours.
All right, I'll go up there. Are you able to broadcast on the TV a webpage on your computer?
Yes, did you
Can
bring
pull up-
something? Did you bring?
I'm not gonna do a PowerPoint, can you pull up our webpage?
Oh.
Our main webpage, I just wanna show that to everybody,
Yes, I'll check with Kat.
because that's really about opening the door and getting services through us.
Can you bring up her webpage? We can do it. Okay. Okay. This is Kat, and she makes the.
Most important person in the room
That's our go-to.
is the building manager, security guard, and IT. That's what I always say.
She makes me look nice on TV.
Exactly. And it's apdcares.org. So Joy, you can navigate for me. Do you mind? This will be easy. So, yeah, apdcares.org. So apdcares.org, O-R-G, is how you get to our website. My name is Jeanette Estes. I'm the state of Florida. I represent the State of Florida Agency for Persons with Disabilities. Jeanette Estes Esquire. I do have that title too. But In my operational hat, I am the Regional Operations Manager for the Central Region. We have 6 regions, and I'll talk about that in just a second. The agency's mission is that we assist people, we support persons with unique abilities in living, learning, and working in their communities by providing a multitude of pathways to possibilities. We do that through families, guardians, waiver support coordinators who work for what we call QOs, a lot of acronyms around here, qualified organizations, and we couldn't do it without, of course, our providers who really get in there and do the work. And thank you to Key, DBA, Citrus Arc DBA Key, for being one of our very best providers. This network, and we also have all our community partners that help us to help support our individuals with unique abilities. How does an individual become a client or a consumer of the agency? Well, first we're going to go to apdcares.org, and a person has to have one or more, but at least one of 7 statutorily defined developmental disabilities. And they are spina bifida, intellectual disability, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, severe forms of autism, Prader-Willi syndrome, and the most recent one, which was added a few years ago, a syndrome called Phelan-McDermid syndrome. If an individual has one or more of those disabilities, they are potentially eligible for services through our agency. So how does one apply? We come to our webpage here, and you see all these wonderful tabs across the top. Before we get into the application, we're not going to get too into the weeds, but I want to show you all how to navigate so you can share this information. Joy, could you click on that green bar that says locations? Go down to regions, just click on the tab that says regions right. This is our regional map. As everyone knows that every state agency and or department, we're all headquartered in Tallahassee, but we all have regional or district structures. Our agency is structured into regions. Our map matches the Department of Children and Families map, same exact structure. So we have a regional office and field offices in every single region. So we have the Northwest region. Tallahassee is the regional headquarters. There's actually a separate regional office, separate from the state office. We have the Northeast region, headquarters is Jacksonville. We have the Central region, which is the region that we're all in. Orlando is where my regional office is. Suncoast, which is Tampa. Southeast, it's West Palm Beach. And Southern, it's Miami. In the Central region, which I continually tell the state office is the best region, because that's where we are. I do tell them. We comprise 12 counties, and on this map you can see it's Citrus, obviously, you know that, Hernando, Marion, Lake, Sumter, Orange, Osceola, Seminole, Brevard, Polk, Hardy, and Highlands. If you're a judge or a lawyer or an attorney, you would remember that is the 5th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 18th judicial circuits, which is how I remember it. But those are the 12 counties, and as you can see by that mango-colored orange section, that's a huge section. We have a huge region, and I live in Polk County, which in and of itself, if you've ever driven from the top of Polk County to the bottom of Polk County, you're thinking, I'm still in Polk County. So we have a huge region, but it is the best region. I love the geography, the people, and everything we have to offer. Plus we have the mouse. So anyway, we have 2 field offices in the Central region. One is in Wildwood, and the other one is in Lakeland. So if you go to any of our offices, it's kind of like a triangle, and it's about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes between each office, depending on how kind or friendly or unkind or unfriendly traffic is. If you will click on Central, there I am, like 10 years ago, when I was not as fluffy, and when L'Oreal and I were still friends, and before the pandemic set in, and I said, goodbye, L'Oreal, we're not doing the hair color anymore. So this is how you access any information if you need to reach out to our team. If you see our 3 field offices, Orlando, Wildwood, and Lakeland. And if you click on the blue link that says Central Region Staff, this is the majority of everyone that works for us. I said the majority because we do have some field staff who, there are so many, it would be overwhelming if we put them all on here. But the main subject areas that we cover, we have quality, we have clinical, we have the waiver, the people that actually are, when we have persons who are receiving funding for supports and services. We have community supports and pre-enrollment, those persons that are waiting to get into funding for supports and services. This includes the majority of the teams, what they do, their supervisors, and their upper management. So you've got a name and an email and a phone number. So there's that. So if we go back to the main page by tabbing back, and if you go over to the blue section that says, did you know you can apply online? We have an amazing new OAS, an acronym again, online applications system. Hallelujah, we've come into this century. And that was part of the legislature's request last year. We had House Bill 1758, I believe is the number. Don't quote me on the number. That was one of the requirements, is that we launched this system so that we could, get up to step with everyone else. And of course, we still accept paper applications if somebody wants to walk in, if somebody wants to mail it in. We realize some people do not feel comfortable with technology still. We still will take it via mail, and we still take it via fax and email. However, this is a portal, if you'll click on that. It's not working? Oh, thank you for telling me that. I can let them know. There we go. I'll let them know that question link is not working. What this is a web-based, screen-by-screen process that shows us what am I going to need to get the information to have my loved one or myself to see if I'm eligible for services. You'll create an account just like with any other app or any other system that you're going to engage. Can you hit continue? You have to, oh wait, before you go. Pre-screening items. A person needs to be age 3 or older. They live in Florida. And we have to have proof of a diagnosis of a developmental disability. And the courts have ruled that has, and this is in statute as well, we have to have the manifestation of that disability, evidence showing that it manifested itself prior to the age of 18. Can you hit continue for me? Thank you. And then you go through the rights and responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera. But if you'll backspace out of that, I want to show you something even better that I would encourage everybody. Actually, go back to the main page, sorry. It wants to, okay. We have a quick guide over in that same box, Joy. Yes, quick guide. This I would encourage everyone to take a moment to read if you're going to assist someone or refer someone. This breaks it down step by step. You see age 3 or older, they live in Florida, they have a developmental disability that presented itself prior to the age of 18. So if you'll scroll to the bottom, and so usually what we have trouble with, yes, please click next, thank you, is, okay, I can show you that I live in Florida and I can show you that I meet the age requirement, but I need to know about the diagnosis part. So here's some of the information that's listed that we can use to verify the factors just discussed: age and domicile, which means I live in Florida. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just some examples. Right here, let's click the next button. This is the one I really want to show you. All the disabilities that I just shared with you. And if you scroll down a little bit more, Joy, okay, I want to talk about this tab that says applicants between ages 3 and 5. Because children are still developing, as we know, early childhood. 3 and 5, we will take these applications, but we put them into what we call the high risk, because what will happen is when they turn 6, we will reevaluate them to see, does the doctor confirm that yes, they have this specific disability. So let's say I'm a person and I'm representing someone that has an intellectual disability. What do you need from me? What do you need from me, Jeanette? Well, let's click on intellectual disability. If you'll scroll down, it gives exactly what you're going to need. What types of information can I submit? Well, it tells, must provide one or more of each of the following. There's 2 groups that are listed. We have to have diagnostic testing, and we have to have adaptive testing. And then it tells us who are the persons that can administer those tests. So I'm not going to read all of this to you because everyone's eyes will glaze over, because that's what happens to even those of us who work for the agency. It gets very technical. But this is a guide for persons. It really breaks down our rule, because our rule can get very technical and overwhelming. So this is a beautiful way that we've tried to break it down as simply as possible for people to learn to apply. And once they've reviewed this and they gather their information, they can go through that portal, register, submit their application, and we have 60 days to do an initial eligibility determination. However, if someone believes that they're in crisis, that time frame is shortened, also a new legislative requirement from last year, to 15 days. We have to review to see whether they're eligible for crisis criteria. Crisis criteria are generally, is a person homeless or in danger of being subjected to homelessness? Maybe they have an eviction notice, maybe they're sleeping on a relative's couch and the relative is like, I can't do this anymore. Or, and it could be one or more of these. There's 3 criteria. Danger, they're a danger to themselves and or others. And or, finally, the caregiver is unable to provide care. What reasons could that be? It could be medical. It could be mom and dad have to work, or whoever the caregiver is has to work, and this person can't be left home unsupervised. So it could be, and because they have to work, that then presents a financial crisis. If I quit my job and I stay home, is the mortgage or the rent going to get paid? Is the electric going to get paid? Is there going to be food on the table? So that really ramps up our time frame for us to make that determination with 15 days, whether it's for eligibility and or crisis. So this is just a very high-level Cliff's Notes version of how to apply, the disabilities that we serve. Once a person is determined eligible for our services, they will receive a choice to pick a waiver support coordinator who is like a case manager. It's an acronym, WSC. They work for qualified organizations, QOs as we call them, and that support coordinator will assist that person in developing a person-centered support plan. What are my goals? What would I like to do? Do I want to work? Do I just want to kick back and maybe go visit some places and learn about some different skills at those places? Do I want to take a trip somewhere? And once they determine what those goals are, the support plan will be written, and then the support coordinator will present a plethora, I use that term in air quotes because it depends on where we're at. In our less populated counties, we have less providers, small but mighty ones. Key's not really small, but we then come to our provider selection. The support coordinators will present selections of different providers, and those consumers will interview those providers and determine who is the best provider to fit their needs and help serve them. And for example, not that I'm picking on you, but you're here, so that's how Barbara and her team are serving our consumers. A support coordinator got a case from us. The person was enrolled for services. They were presented different providers, and they interviewed with Key and said, Key, I want to come to your adult day training program. Or I want you to render companion service, meaning have a staff take me out into the community. Or I want to live in one of your group homes. Where can APD consumers live? Wherever they want. Where do you want to live? As long as they're healthy and safe, and we support them. They can live in the family home. They can live in their own home in what we call supported living, meaning we have supports in there to support them. Or they can reside in one of our residential licensed facilities known as an APD licensed group home. So those are the different residential settings. We have 27 services, and I will not name them all because I will forget them, but an example, residential habilitation is the group home payment that we render for training to live in the group home. I mentioned adult day training. We have pre-vocational services, supported employment, companion service, behavioral services, therapies, And pretty much, it's not an end-all be-all, but it's a good array of services to try to support our individuals that are just like us. They just might have a unique ability that's a little bit different than us. So that's it. I could go on all day. I'm very passionate about what we do and who we serve. I will fight tooth and nail, fight somebody to protect them. I get very upset when I see certain DCF investigations and we know someone is being harmed, and I'm sure you all would feel the same way, because this is our most vulnerable and sacred population, and they deserve the best chance that all the rest of us have. So that concludes my presentation, Chair. I don't know if anybody has any questions of me that they would like to
Anyone have any
ask.
questions for Jeanette?
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to present. I appreciate it. And I wore this to remind everyone, yes, you know what
Tomorrow.
day it is tomorrow? And it's also there's a new holiday now that the young generation has. Today is Galentine's Day.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes, so if you didn't know, now you know. Okay.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. We appreciate all the information you brought to us, because we do need to know what the agencies are doing.
Madam Chair, too, the truth of the matter is that what they do enables people to live a satisfying life. I personally know of people that have been helped by such organizations, and one had Down syndrome, lived a long, prosperous life, retired, earned money, earned income. Thank you to organizations and people who are passionate in them, because it makes the difference. And Deidre gave us a wonderful presentation last time, same thing. It was well taken, and if anybody, we tell people that these meetings are recorded so that they can get information and not be afraid to then click on the site and actually make a phone call. So I did that to a couple people.
Now, this is a state organization.
Yes.
Is it in every state?
I believe, yes, that every state, it may not necessarily be called the same thing, but they do have a program in every state
Okay.
that serves persons through what we call the HCBS. The acronym stands for, it's a federal waiver, it's called the Home and Community-Based Services Waiver
Okay.
Program. And it's geared to assist individuals with developmental disabilities and to basically prevent them from being institutionalized. So if we go back in the 70s, remember in the 70s, early 80s, when there was the terrible, it was the expose that was done on, I want to call it Briarcliff, that's not the name of it, but whatever the institution up in New York or Pennsylvania, and it was discovered that we were treating people horribly in institutions. That led to a nationwide change in the law, and we're going to deinstitutionalize. People are not going to live in institutions anymore. Now, do we still have certain facilities? Yes, but only after all the other levers have been pulled to ensure that someone actually cannot be safe without being in a facility, but they will have services and supports, and the state oversees. ACA is our great partner. They license hospitals, and not to tell you what you do, but you license assisted living facilities and skilled nursing facilities, and they work with us. And actually, ACA, just so you know, ACA pays our bills. Thank you, ACA. They pay our providers. They run the Medicaid program, and it's a Medicaid-based waiver. So we administer the waiver and all the services and work with our providers, but ACA, when the billing comes, ACA's right there to pay our providers and give us guidance. So
We certify the providers.
yes, it is truly a partnership, and every state does have it. How it looks is a little bit different because, on the federal level, the feds there's state dollars and then there's federal dollars, and the feds have some basic regulations. I don't want to call them basic, but some standard regulations, and then the states have flexibility how they can administer their programs. So, yes. Many times, because we know Florida is the best state ever. I say that seriously, because I love Florida, and because everybody's still moving here, we will get parents that are sad and upset with us because, well, you didn't do this where I lived in this state. We're like, I'm sorry, this is the process. Let us try to help you. And so we try to connect people where we can. And it's not a mirror image, but there are similarities throughout all the states, so.
Well, I like the fact that, you're explaining it to people, and for those people watching, this is why we have presentations, so that you can see, and hopefully she answered the questions that you need. If not, go on her site.
Yes.
And as far as I remember, it's apdcares.org.
Yes.
So, please, if you have any relatives or questions or friends that could use this service, look it up and use it.
Yes.
Thank you,
so
Jeanette.
much, we appreciate the
I
opportunity.
have one question for you. Forgive me if I'm wrong. You said they had to have proof of a diagnosis by age 18, is that correct?
The law states that yes, let me clarify it, because it gets a little tricky. It used to
Okay.
say, it says one thing, but there were legal proceedings, people challenged, and then what the hearings officers have adjudicated is that it's the manifestation. We have to have proof and evidence that the disability manifested
they may
itself
not-
prior to the age 18.
Right. Okay.
We still
that
have
makes
to have
sense.
proof of the diagnosis. The trigger is prior to the age of 18. Honestly, that is a pressure point for a lot of people, because
Right.
we'll see people come from, again, other states, or maybe they've lived here all their life and they say to themselves, I just found out about this and my loved one is 60 years old. Well, sometimes records, many times
Go
they're
back.
not available.
Right.
So we have to just look at that quick guide and figure out, can we go to a physician? That sometimes we can assist with assessment testing
Right.
for that individual.
So, I'm just thinking about the kids who are in the Transition Academy, who typically have, graduated high school, our local schools, but they're still eligible for services until 21. But one of the toughest areas I know for parents with children with intellectual disabilities, it really gets challenging between the ages of 22 and 25.
I'm so glad she said that. Can I add one more thing, Chair?
Sure.
Our director and our executive team is working right now on creating what we call an adult pathways waiver. And this is exactly for that age group, 18 to, I think it's 26, don't quote me
Yeah,
on
it
the end
gets really
age.
tough around there.
But we recognized as an agency, and last year they spent going around the state getting feedback from families, providers, other community partners on what does, and of course consumers, what do you need when you're transitioning from 18 to, I guess, 26, I think is gonna be, like I said. That's a hard time, because we're going from being a child to being an adult. And if any of you all, I know when I thought I knew everything and then realized I didn't know anything, and, so how much more level of support does an individual with a unique ability need support in that area? So the intention is that a new type of waiver administered by our program, of course with ACA's help and support along the way and feedback, we will create that to assist that exact age group.
Oh, perfect.
That is
Okay.
in the pipeline, and it is coming.
That's wonderful, thank
So,
you.
And
That's
I want to say one more thing about the children, like children right now. Now is the time to, if you think someone has a developmental disability, have them apply, because when they're still in school,
Yeah.
we have records, schools right now.
Tons of them,
And
tons of records,
This is my
exactly.
meeting
Yeah.
buddy here. They have records right now, whereas back in the day, if I tried to get it myself, they would not have any records because of my age. But now, the time is right now. We've gotten better about keeping records, so.
No, that's great, thank you.
Okay.
We're making sure that we have, this website and are able to recommend it to clients who come to us for CCR&R services or inclusion services, so,
Perfect.
thank you.
Great, thank you.
Quick question.
Yes.
It's regarding eligibility. How, after they submit the application, and either way that you have access, who establishes the eligibility? Who going to determine the level of care of the patients or the
That's a
residents?
wonderful question. Who determines eligibility, essentially? And we have a state office level team of experts, clinical experts. Generally, if it's for intellectual disability and or autism, it goes up to the state office review team. If it's like Down syndrome, or if it's cerebral palsy, we have medical case managers, nurses, that will look at that and make the determination. So it's kind of a, they're all APD staff, obviously, but they're all clinicians. Yeah,
Okay.
generally,
Alright.
yeah, making those determinations.
All right,
So-
thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Anyone else on the board have any I mean, this is what this is all about. Open it and let people know what's going on. And I appreciate everything you're doing, Jeanette. Thank you very
so
much.
Chair. Grateful for it.
Okay, so now, we'd like to find out, is there anyone in this group, sitting at these chairs, that's willing to do a presentation at the May 8th LCB meeting? All right, we have a volunteer from Debbie Letterman. Thank you very, very much, so we will get that put on the schedule, a presentation, and she's from the Regional Workforce Development Board. Okay, citizens' comments. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to come up to the podium and speak to us about anything? Second ask. Third ask. Seeing nobody in the audience who wants to come up, is there anybody on the board that has anything that they would like to discuss? Second ask for the board? Anybody? Third ask? All right, seeing as there's nobody from the board, Mary's gonna give us an update on current matters from the MPO.
So, Bob Esposito, who is the MPO Executive Director, is attending Gulf Street's Safe Summit meeting down in St. Petersburg. I believe it's in St. Pete. So that's where he is today. So some of the things that we wanted to communicate to you was Bob hosted a telephone call with State Senator Nick DeSegli and Commissioner Bays on February 3rd. He's really trying to push the rural arterial money to Hernando and Citrus counties. Bob is really a champion trying to get funding to improve the roads. So he hosted a Teams meeting with FDOT, Pasco County, and Hernando County staff members on January 27th. This is more related to County Line Road, but we're trying to get it updated, and it's just another reflection of what Bob's trying to do to get roads improved in our counties. The Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance is working on a regional 2050 LRTP, and County Line Road was added to that, and Bob is going to ask to have State Road 200 in Citrus added to that list.
What's an LRTP?
It's for the regional 2050 LRTP, the regional one. Long Range Transportation
Okay.
Plan. And then Bob attended the Pasco MPO board meeting on December 11th. He reaches out to our sister counties, our adjacent counties, and we often meet with Ocala Marion and Lake Sumter. That kind of regional coordination helps to promulgate different ideas and understand the strategies and what projects are being worked on. He also did a second radio interview with WWJB on January 15th, 2025. And the funny thing about that was, well, the first one he did, somebody from Citrus was listening to WWJB and actually said, hey, you were the guy on the radio. So that's a good venue to get information out and understand what the MPO is doing and what the priorities are going on in the counties. So that's part of that. And, oh yes, he is at the Gulf Street Safe Summit Dignitary Panel is where he is at. It was originally scheduled in October, and those nasty hurricanes, we had to reschedule it, so anyway, that's pretty much it it for Bob's end of the world right now, so.
Well, our next meeting is scheduled for the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board on May the 8th. It's a Thursday morning, 2025, 9:30, right here in this building. I'd love to see everybody come back. Okay, so just put it on your calendar, just like I did with mine. Other than that, I'm gonna adjourn this meeting, and it's 11:18. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.